What is up, Beachbody champions? Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to give this training today. So I'm gonna give it a couple seconds to let people hop on. But in the meantime, my name is Marie Barker and I'm coming to you live today to deliver a short training on how to decrease stress and increase mindfulness in your life, and specifically in your everyday, without overburdening your already crazy schedule. So if you're just jumping on, can you drop a comment below, tell me where you're joining from, and tell me number one thing that you hope to gain from this call. If you're like me and you overburden yourself with stress, often you're not alone. So just know that. So 4 years ago this month, actually, it was my coach anniversary. 4 years ago this month, I started coaching while also beginning my substitute teaching journey. And I started my classroom teaching journey. I was waitressing 4 nights a week. I was teaching fitness 2 nights a week. And I was trying to figure out what the heck I was doing with this coaching thing and how to build a business online. And it was super different 4 years ago, as it does, as it evolves, right? Social media was a different game 4 years ago. But I was busy, I was broke, and I was super burnt out. I was also experiencing adrenal fatigue. I have an autoimmune disease. I'm prone to anxiety. I was dealing with PTSD, and I had this whole host of issues going on that made daily life so challenging for me, and I just constantly felt burnt out and constantly felt like I was burning the candle at both ends. Can you guys relate to this? Does anybody relate to this? Awesome, I'm so excited to see people jumping on. Perfect. Okay, so at the time I didn't actually have a morning routine. And I read The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod early on in my coaching journey, which was such a good book. Highly recommend if you haven't read that one. And I started to kind of develop a morning routine, but it was super inconsistent. And because I didn't have a lot of time, what I was doing is my alarm would go off at like 5:30 a.m. and I would jump out of bed and I would rock it. And I would go and I would send my invites and drink my Energize. I don't think I was drinking Energize at the time. It wasn't even out. That's so old. And I would do my workout, probably something like Insanity, because I was like a diehard cardio junkie trying to like punish my body with exercise. Not that Insanity isn't a great workout, but you know what I'm talking about. And I just like hit the ground running as soon as my alarm went off. And what that did for me was that my cortisol levels went poof and spiked. And my cortisol levels were up all day, so my adrenals, your adrenal glands, they were producing adrenaline all day long. And then at the end of the night, at the end of the day, after teaching all day in a new classroom, learning new kids' names, teaching a different grade, like because I did pre-K through 12, going and waitressing, dealing with people at the restaurant/bar that I was working at, trying to figure out Beachbody coaching, trying to maintain an awesome relationship with my boyfriend, trying to still be there for my family, still be there for myself. At the end of all this, I would go to bed and I would be wired and tired. Do you guys relate to this at all? Am I just alone in this? I don't think I'm alone in this. So I'm personally prone to overworking and perfectionism and overwhelm. And if you can relate to that, please give me one of these in the comments. I hope that this can help you. I'm going to give you some top tips today on kind of how to, I am going to give you my tips on how to beat overwhelm and develop more mindfulness in your everyday, and to stop feeling so stressed all the time, because it doesn't have to be crazy, even if you have a really busy schedule. I promise, because I'm there with you. So I knew all of this, and I started learning these things, and I started implementing a morning routine a couple of years ago. But it honestly wasn't until this last summer when my team was pushing for 5-star elite, and we hit it, which is so incredible. I'm so proud of us for doing it. While we were pushing for 5-star elite and holding for the 6-week qualification period, I was severely concussed post-summit. So I was dealing with brain damage and couldn't look at my phone, couldn't drive, couldn't open my eyes in a light room without like crying, was sliding into a depression again. Thank goodness I had my Shakeology, thank goodness I had my meditation routine, thank goodness I recognized some of these things and had some of these habits in place. But sustaining that concussion really taught me, first of all, how important sleep is. It's like the number one thing. When you're sleep deprived, you're just a worse person for yourself. So get enough sleep. Make that number one. Sleep is super important, but number two, it also made me recognize that I have a habit of go, go, go until I can't go anymore. And I realized I need to focus on more mindfulness in my everyday. And so it was really this last summer when I dove really intensely into my own de-stressing and mindfulness daily routines. And so today I'm actually going to share with you guys my top 6 tips for de-stressing and mindfulness. I got some notes here so I don't get squirrely and forget. Okay, if you're a pen and paper person, grab that out. So, my first tip for de-stressing and developing more mindfulness in your everyday is to begin every single day in silence. And I can already hear the objections of parents and people who have to get up early and people who like doing morning workouts. You don't need a lot of time, but you owe it to yourself to start every single day in silence. Just like you brush your teeth when you get up, just like you put the coffee on to boil for your coffee or your tea, just like you, pop toast in the toaster or blend your Shaco or push play on your workout, you owe it to yourself to make time to sit for 5 minutes in silence. And I'm going to share with you guys why this is so important. Last May, I actually took my meditation teacher certification. So I'm actually technically a certified meditation teacher. How fun. And in my core studies, something that I learned was that there's all these studies done, and there was one study in particular that was done at Harvard, and they looked at people who meditated or prayed, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to use meditation for the sake of this call. They looked at people who meditated for 5 minutes every single day for 21 days. And to meditate, just to debunk it for anybody that's like, ooh, that sounds woo, I don't know what meditation is. All meditation is just focusing on one thing. That's it. When you meditate on something, it just means you focus on one thing. So whether that's your breath, whether that's a mantra, which actually just means a mind tool, that's what mantra is. So whether you focus on a word or an intention or a candle or a picture or staring at the sunrise or flowers, whatever you want to do, eyes closed, meditation is just focusing on one thing. And for me, what works best and the simplest thing is just to focus on my inhale and my exhale. 5 minutes. And what this study found was that the people who meditated for 5 minutes, that's it, just 5 minutes every single day for 21 days, they actually increased their prefrontal cortex. They increased the gray matter in the front of their brain. And for anybody that doesn't know, your prefrontal cortex is in charge of rationalization, patience, creativity, memory. It's in charge of all these different things that make you a better version of yourself. And by increasing the gray matter in your prefrontal cortex, you actually literally become a better person. You become more creative, more patient, you get a better memory, you're less reactive, all these things that we want, right? Especially as we're so stressed. But when you're chronically stressed, you actually decrease the gray matter in your prefrontal cortex. Isn't that crazy? So when you meditate for just 5 minutes every single morning, you can actually help to rebuild that prefrontal cortex back up so you can regain those skills in your life. You don't always have to feel frantic. You don't always have to feel reactionary and, what's the word I'm looking for? When you jump down people's throats. You know what I'm talking about. Reactionary, I suppose. So this has been my game changer, is starting every single day in silence. I don't keep my phone in my bedroom. Put it in the living room. Put it somewhere where you're not going to check it first thing. I should have mentioned that previously. Okay, so get your phone out of your bedroom. I actually personally use a wake-up light. It stimulates sunlight, especially in Saskatchewan where we have eternal winter right now, and it feels like you are in the deep, dark depths of the Arctic. I need sun. We need sun. In order for you to wake up and actually feel happy and get your circadian rhythm going, you need sunlight. So I bought a Philips wake-up light. No, this isn't an ad. I just use it and love it. Instead of using my phone as my alarm. And I'm seeing that some people are also using that, so that's awesome. So I use those Philips wake up light, I get up, and before I do anything, like I splash water in my face, I brush my teeth really quick, I pull with coconut oil, and then I press on my little water kettle, and I sit down on the couch, and I meditate. So that's number 1. Number 2, breathe deeply. I know this seems super simple. These are all really simple, but they're profound. How many of you breathe in your chest? Probably every single person. So I invite you to take a deep breath in through your nose and fill your belly with air. And exhale. Oh, you can just feel that feeling better, right? We are such shallow breathers. We clench our shoulders, we clench our jaws. We're so stressed all the time, especially if you're on your phone, on your computer, always reacting to things. Relax. Relax your shoulders. Relax your jaw. Unclench your teeth. If you need to set an alarm for yourself for on the hour, every hour, to take 3 deep breaths, you will change your physiological state just by taking 3 deep breaths. It's so, so important. So that's number 2. Number 3, morning pages. Okay, so the morning pages are something that I've been doing for years. I didn't know that they were called morning pages until I read a book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, and it's fantastic. It is a spiritual guide to higher creativity. And when I read that book this last summer, I was like, oh, that's what this is called, what I'm doing. That's amazing. So every single morning, right before I meditate, I sit down with my blank journal and a pen, and I just free flow write. And this isn't like I'm super inspired and I'm some like morning muse with, no, this isn't that. This is like petty, angry, weird thoughts, dreams, repetitive stuff, garbage basically that's in my head that I'm getting out of my head and onto paper. And these morning pages are so, so important because if I want to sit and meditate for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes every single morning, if I want to have any hope of not reacting to my thoughts, you're always going to have thoughts when you're meditating. You can't get rid of your thoughts. That's not the point. But the point is just not to attach to them and not to react to them. And if I can get all that garbage out of my head and onto paper, that book is called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. If I can get all that garbage out of my head and onto paper, it's like I'm downloading all that gunk and it doesn't have to swirl around in my head all day. So I'm starting every single day with a fresh slate. So I do those morning pages. First thing, 2 to 3 pages of just free form writing, no editing, nothing, just like stream of consciousness, write, just go. Even if you're writing, this is stupid, I don't know what to write this morning, I have no thoughts that are worth putting on paper. I promise, even if you just keep writing, you're going to find something's gonna come out. And the morning pages are so important because everybody knows that one of the vital behaviors is PD, right? But what often gets missed when we're talking about PD is that you have to deal with your baggage in order to step up and up level and go to the next place in your life, in your business, in your relationships, in your finances, etc., in your fitness. If you're not dealing with your stuff, you're going to be stuck in your stuff until you deal with it. So doing the morning pages oftentimes brings up old emotions. It brings up old traumas. It brings up old stuff that you otherwise don't want to deal with. You'll be sitting there on like a random Tuesday writing, this is stupid, I dreamt about a dinosaur last night, oh my god, what does that mean? Childhood trauma comes through, and you're like, what? What's that? Oh, I think this is why I'm so impatient with so-and-so. This brings me back to when I was 5. Oh, weird. And you're going to start to deal with your stuff. And it's so important to do that because what you focus on and what you shed light on, you can heal, right? So it's really, really important. So morning pages, number 1, and number 2, sitting in silence. They're out of order now, but deep breathing. Okay, so those are the 3. Now I'm going to move to some stuff for your business. This is also for business, for life, etc. Number 4 is working from a list. This is so important. When we think that we're going to have time to get everything done that we want in our heads, and I am so guilty of this, that is why I can talk about it. When we think we're going to have time to get done all these amazing projects in our heads, we oftentimes get analysis paralysis and get overwhelmed and then we don't do anything. Do you guys relate to that? Where you're like, I have all these amazing ideas. I'm so excited. I can't wait to do this project and this project and this project. I'm going to rock my social media today. I'm going to go live. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this group. And then you're like, wait, where do I start? Ugh. And then you go take a nap and scroll Facebook or Instagram for an hour. And then you're like, well, that was terrible. I did not get anything done. So working from a list is so, so imperative because it shows you what you're actually getting done, and what you measure, you can track, right? And what you track and measure, you can change. It's just like keeping a food journal. Anybody that did 2B Mindset, that is one of the reasons why 2B Mindset is so effective, because you're tracking what you're eating and how you're feeling and how much sleep you're getting, and if you're going to the bathroom, and your gratitude and your water. Those are all really important. If you're not tracking it, you don't know what you're missing, right? Very same thing with your business. So use the business activity tracker, use the Success Club system tracker, use a variation of a checklist that's been created by Beachbody, thank you, that goes over the vital behaviors. You don't have to spend 17 hours a day working your Beachbody business. But I promise you that if you don't work from a list and you have 17 hours a day to work on this, you're going to take all 17 hours to work on it. I'm saying this because I do that sometimes. We teach what we most need to learn, right? So number 4 is working from a list. Number 5, I'm going to get a Marie Kondo on you guys, and she's got the same name as me, so I feel like I can. Keep a tidy space. When you have a cluttered space, that's indicative of a cluttered mind. And when you have a cluttered mind, you're so much more prone to feeling overwhelmed, overworked, stressed, etc. When you create more space in your life physically, you create more space here. And when you have more space here, you are more open to creative projects. You're more open to abundance. You're more open to better collaborations, good ideas, right? So declutter your space. If you live in Hoarders Anonymous, take the weekend off of social media, watch some Marie Kondo on Netflix, and clean your house. Right? You deserve to live in a tidy space, and you will be a better person when you tidy that space for yourself. I promise. I'll give you an example. When I'm going through a really stressful time, when I have like overworked myself, I've overburdened myself, I've said yes to way too many projects, to way too many people, my desk looks like somebody threw up papers on it. And it causes me like anxiety to even talk about this and think about my desk like that, because I know I'm like, oh, there's probably like 17 sticky notes with 22 different lists. My lists have lists. There's unfinished projects, 7 different notebooks, like a journal half open. My computer battery's probably dying. Like, it's just stressful. When I take time to tidy my desk space, to make it look nice, to maybe put out like a little candle and some little crystals I like, anything, some little things that bring you joy to that space, you are going to feel so much better. You're going to be more productive at work. You're going to be more excited to sit down and do your power hour. And even if you're watching this and you're like, okay, that's all fine and dandy, but I don't have a desk or an office. Listen here. I worked from the kitchen table, from a Kijiji kitchen table for the first 3 years of my business. And after that, I had like a $20 Kijiji desk that I barely fit in. I'm 6 foot, and I had to like squeeze my whole body into the desk and wrap myself in a blanket, and then had to wear 2 pairs of socks because the insulation in the house where we were living was so terrible, and there would get like frost on the insides of the house. So just, you don't need an office or a desk space to do this, but you can just keep whatever space you're living in tidy. You deserve to keep that tidy. You deserve that space. Okay. Number 6, this is the final one. Be okay with taking a day off. And you're like, what does this have to do with mindfulness? We are so programmed to celebrate busyness and productivity to the point of overworking ourselves, not dealing with our baggage, like I mentioned before. And in my mind, this is something that I struggle with like severely. Taking a day off it helps you recharge your batteries. You plug your phone in every single night. When was the last time that you did that for yourself? Right? So constantly check in on with yourself. Be okay taking a day off. Figure out a day of the week that's good for you to do that. And get off social media for a day. Nobody's gonna notice. Right? And I would say this too, people respect your journey more when you're like, hey, I'm taking today off social media. It's really healthy to like get outside and look up and put your phone down. You should try it sometime. People will be like, man, that girl or that guy is so inspiring. They even get off social media and they work on social media. Maybe I could be a coach too. All right. So those are my top 6 tips for de-stressing and creating more mindfulness in your days. Start each day in silence. Just meditate for 5 minutes. Pray for 5 minutes. Just sit in silence for 5 minutes. I've heard it said before that praying is talking to God and meditating is letting God talk to you. And something that I will oftentimes ask in my head when I'm meditating is I will just say, and whatever you believe in, that's your shtick, right? So whether you call it higher source or energy, God, universe, whatever your language is that makes you feel comfortable, use that. But when I'm meditating, when I sit down, I'll set an intention for the meditation. I'll just think about how I want to feel. And then I'll ask a few questions, a couple soul questions, just to get myself primed. And then after I'm done asking those questions, I'll ask, what would you have me know? And that has been so powerful for me because it really lets my ego sit down, and it lets me just sit with whatever comes up. And if nothing comes up, then nothing comes up. But if something does come up, then I can just watch it and witness it and then deal with it. And I can honestly say that starting each day in silence, learning how to breathe deeply, doing the morning page journal exercise, working from a list, keeping a tidy space, and taking a day off, those are all things that have helped me immensely with decreasing stress in my life and increasing mindfulness. So I hope that was helpful for you guys. If it was, feel free to tag your friends who you want to watch this. I'm just going to check the comments really quickly. Oh, you guys are all wonderful. You're all wonderful. Miranda says, I'm actually sitting at my work desk, which is an absolute disaster, and I burst out laughing because I'm legit just so overwhelmed lately. Yes, it is indicative of a cluttered mind. Jennifer says, are you in my office? So if you learn nothing from this video, everybody's going to go and Marie Kondo their spaces. Awesome. Great. I'm really glad that you guys took the time to listen to it also. So hope you have a fabulous Friday. I'm going to unplug now because Fridays are actually my day off. So I'm going to go to Costco and maybe get myself some flowers. Hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day. Take care.